Mr. Boris and I looked up our speaker today online and noticed that he was running a memoir entitled Hope. This hope, so we thought we'd focus on something positive in this prayer to the world and think about hope. This hope is a deeper hope. It's more than just wanting to win, hope that you win a game or do well on a test. And Mr. Boris in good season is going to think about hope too.
Luke and I got talking about hope, and we realized that, maybe trivial hope is just hoping things that, my day goes well, it doesn't rain, it does rain. But then there's a deeper spiritual hope that resembles more of a discipline. And it comes to us maybe from outside of ourselves, but it almost comes to us like grace. And we thought, for example, we started talking about this last Friday, and towards the end of the class in which we talked about this, a rather heated debate ensued. And inside of debates, and then, by the way, then later in the day I had some debates with colleagues, and then after school I had a really heated debate with someone who thought, they thought I was worshiping in the wrong place, and I said, no, I'm not. It was another weird debate, and in these debates, and maybe in this election season, it's easy to lose hope. It's easy to forget the goodness of the world and hope for the goodness in this world. And then Luke and I got talking, and it occurred to us that this hope seems to come from two places. One is that even the bad things that happen to us can be turned. The debate in class that we had ended up making the debaters think in really new and creative ways. Luke and I kind of came to conclusions about our personality types, and I think it was a really good debate. So I think God can work and turn things, and we can have reasonable hope that even contentious things can be turned. Then there's a deeper level, and that deeper level is that you find goodness in other people where we don't always expect it. And so I think we have reasonable hope in the love and graciousness of those around us, especially the brothers and sisters in Christ. But anybody around us can reflect God's goodness in some ways. And then we found a deeper hope yet, even when all seems lost. I think that Christians are called to have a discipline of hope, a discipline that the Lord of the universe is basically loving and on our side. And even though things seem dire, maybe in this election season, there's good reason for hope, and there's good reason to build on that goodness at the corner of the universe.
Please join me in this closing prayer from a prayer in 1995. Living God, Father of light, hope of nations, friends of sinners, builder of the city that is to come, your love is made visible in Jesus Christ. You bring home the lost, restore the sinner, and give dignity to the despised. In the face of Jesus Christ, your light shines out, flooding lives with goodness and truth, gathering into one divided and broken humanity. Amen. I now have the honor to introduce our speaker for the day, Dan Nolte. A little background on Dan Nolte is he played baseball for the Minnesota Twins. He also won the World Series with the Yankees in 1999. Then after baseball, he continued in his career and he went to Moody Bible Institute for an undergraduate, then later on to get his MA in Biblical Studies at Trinity, and then postgrad at the Oxford University. He's now an ordained pastor and he worships at Free Reformed Church in Grand Rapids. He's a husband and father to 2 boys. I'd like to give us a warm welcome as we introduce Dan Nolte to the stage.
lame. How are you all? Hey, at the end of that video, we ended up winning the World Series in 1999, and they gave us these big, gigantic rings. So after I speak, if you guys want to come up and check out the ring, a lot of times when I speak, they come up and put it on their finger and take a picture of it or something like that. Since you're all Yankee fans, right? Yeah, usually I get that response, especially in Michigan. Detroit fans, I'm assuming. All right, let me read you a passage out of the Bible, since you don't get enough of that in school. Jesus said, and calling the crowd to him with his disciples, he said to them, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? So that's the application today. What do I have in common with you, much younger people? I was born and raised in Los Angeles, very different parts of the world. I obviously played baseball. After I got saved, I went on and did degrees and became a pastor. But what do we have in common? I think that passage puts us in total connection with one another because a lot of us want to gain the whole world, and we go about it the wrong way. In my case, I went about it the entirely wrong way. So as a kid, I grew up, I loved baseball. I went all the way, I hated school, hated studying, hated doing anything but baseball. And by the time I graduated college, I got drafted by the Minnesota Twins. Drafted just means they selected me. And so I went off and played minor league baseball, and that was my introduction to Michigan, Lake Michigan, the whole area around the Midwest. My first stop was Kenosha, Wisconsin. Anybody know where Kenosha, Wisconsin is? Yeah, right across the lake, right? That was my introduction. We had just left, I played at Cal State Fullerton out in California, and we had just left the World Series, the College World Series. And it was really nice, right? We're playing on CBS every night. It was really a cool experience. We got really great uniforms. They didn't spare a dime sending us to the College World Series. And then I get drafted by the Twins. And that year, my last year in college, I led the country, or tied a guy in the country for how many wins a pitcher could have during the year. So him and I tied. So I did pretty good in college. And so when the draft came, I thought, I am going to make loads of money, right? All baseball players are bazillionaires. So the Twins are going to come in and just dump money on my front lawn, and I'm going to go off and play Major League Baseball for the rest of my life, and life is going to be great. That was what I thought. So the Twins show up, and they come to my house, and the scout walks to my house, and he says, all right, we want to sign you, and we want to give you a check to go off and play minor league baseball. And the only thing that's in my mind is money. Like, I mean, the dollar signs are just ching, 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 ching. You know, millions in my mind that I'm going to get because I led the country in wins. So he says, I couldn't give you our first offer. And I'm like, great, money's going up. I'm in like about, in my head, I'm 1.5 million, 1.25 million, something like that. And he says, I couldn't give you our first offer because I thought it was unfair, so we're coming to you with this offer. And he goes, we're going to give you $3,000. And I just about fell off the couch because I'm at 1.25 million, right? And he says 3,000. 3,000 is a lot of money, but it's not 1.25 million. I had no choices. I did horrible in school, never graduated college. My only choice was to take the 3,000 and go play baseball. But I thought, well, I'm in the door. I'm playing professional baseball. All I've got to do is do well, get to the big leagues, and I'll be a millionaire, and life will be great. Because my whole life was set on money. Everything was about money. My dad taught me when I was a kid, the more money you have, the more power you have, the more authority you have, the more success you have, everything will be great if you have a lot of money. So he says, so I go off to play minor league baseball. I'm in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I arrive in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now I'm from Orange County, California. I grew up on the beach, and I show up at Wisconsin, right next to the lake, and I'm totally overwhelmed. Like, I'd never seen a lake that big. I thought it was the ocean. Didn't know that am I in the Midwest? Am I on the West Coast? We land. They hand me a uniform. Remember, I just came from Cal State Fullerton, decked out, really nice stuff. They give me a uniform. One leg is here, one leg is here. The shorts. I mean, it's horrible. My first paycheck for minor league baseball. Anybody want to take a guess how much it was? $100. Not 1.5. No. How about $850? for the whole month before taxes. So my 2-week paycheck was about, I don't know, like $400 after taxes. That's what I got for 2 weeks of playing. But that's the way it goes. In minor league baseball, if you want to play, you got to take the pay, and that's all there is to it. I fortunately realized, or unfortunately realized, that I was never going to make it. I played a little bit of time with these guys. They were really, really good. Now, I was okay, but they were really good. So I came home, realized I was thin, tall, and I decided, you know what? I'm never going to make it unless I cheat. That was my mindset. I got to cheat if I'm going to make it. So I started taking steroids, and I'm growing and growing. The organization is seeing me and saying, whoa, man, you're getting really big. The fastball is increasing. My fastball in college was nothing special. 86, maybe 87 miles an hour. 4 years later, fast forward 4 years later to 1996, the Minnesota Twins invited me to what's called Big League Camp, which basically means I go to Major League Camp with all the Major League guys, because I had made myself, through drugs and through cheating, into a really high caliber pitcher. My fastball went from 86 to 96. I went from 180 pounds to 248 pounds. Okay, that's how much size I put on my body. But the problem was, by middle 1996, now in 1996, I go to spring training. I throw great spring training. I make the team. I'm in the big leagues. Okay, I'm elated that I'm in the big leagues. Halfway through the season, the injuries start happening. I'm not built to weigh 250 pounds. Okay, my shoulders aren't wide enough, my frame isn't big enough, I can't handle that much weight, my body's moving at a speed that it never should have moved at, but I'm throwing 96 miles an hour and getting major league hitters out and having success. Halfway through the season, my arm goes numb. I'm pitching a game in Boston against the Red Sox, and I'm now the closer of the team, so I've gone good enough as a reliever on the team that I'm now the closer, the guy that pitches the final couple innings, or last inning. And we're playing against the Red Sox, and my hand goes numb. I can't feel it. I can't feel the ball, and I'm throwing balls over the catcher's head. I mean, I couldn't control anything. They tell me I got thoracic outlet syndrome. I have no idea what thoracic outlet syndrome is. They basically said, look, we got to cut the rib out of your first rib out of your neck, and we've got to make room for the vein to pull the blood out of your arm, because it's getting stuck in there and your arm's going numb. Obviously, I knew in my head why my arm was so, constricted. Because my arms were big, my body was big, and it just wasn't built to do this. God never designed me to be 250 pounds. So they cut the first rib, my season was over. The next year comes, 1997, about 2 months into the season, I'm pitching a game in the Metrodome, and I throw a pitch, and your tricep is the muscle on the back of your arm right here, and it's connected to your lat, which is right here. I ripped them right apart when I threw a pitch. That took about 4 months to heal. I came back for the final month of the season. The next year we're playing, and I'm pitching in Cleveland. And I throw a pitch, and the big tendon in your groin that runs right up to your pelvis, I ripped right off my pelvis. So the Twins got tired of my act, and they traded me. But they traded me to the Yankees. Now, everybody in their mind that plays baseball, everybody would think in your mind, that's a really great thing, right? If you trade me to the Yankees, it's great. My problem was that I had just left a team that was really bad, and I got just traded to a team that was the best team in baseball, and potentially the best team in the history of baseball, in light of all the games they won. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to make this team. I come to spring training. Joe Torre was the manager. Joe Girardi, who's their current manager, was one of the catchers. And Joe Torre came to me and said, look, we've got 11, 12, 13 guys, something like that. We've got one spot on the team, which I was amazed they even had one spot. And the team was essentially an all-star team. And he said, we'll see you in 6 weeks, see how it goes. So I pitched for 6 weeks, pitched really well somehow, and stopped and realized at the end of it that they came to me and said, Joe Torre came to me and said, look, you made the team. I was thrilled, of course. I'm now playing for the New York Yankees, which was great. Now, I wasn't going to pitch a lot. I